Magic is a tool that has, in a lot of stories, especially in video games, tried to be integrated in a seamless, even realistic way. Maybe you make it a complex science, an emotion-based power, or you do what the Elder Scrolls did and start laughing maniacally as they say, yes, the magic does come from the stars and sun, which are actually holes in the sky fabric, why are you asking? And certain groups in this world dare to look at that and say, yes, I would like to play with powers beyond imagining. Some do it well, others purposefully don't, and some are the College of Winterhold. Hey, I'm the Hearth guy, and while I adore some mages, this ain't it, Chief. The College of Winterhold is easily the most self-destructive and irresponsible and painfully unstable factions in all of Skyrim, if not Tamriel, where, if you're being charitable, they almost allowed the universe to explode because of one elvish guy with the worst poker face ever. Of course, to explain why that is, I have to explain a bit about magic in Elder Scrolls. The magic of the Elder Scrolls comes in various schools, although the number and names change over time. Understandable when the average mage of Tamriel is only guessing that they know what they're doing. Flip a coin whenever something bad happens, because it's a 50-50 chance that a mage did it, intentionally or otherwise. That's because magic is really weird in Nirn, as mages draw from magicka, which in turn seeps into the world through the stars and sun that are holes in reality created whenever Magnus, the god of magic and architect of the world, left the mortal plane alongside a bunch of his star children. Magicka is treated as though it's a remnant of Magnus on Nirn, and the study of magic in an official capacity actually began here, at the College of Winterhold under the Archmage Shalador. He split magic into discernible disciplines and began teaching at a higher standard, according to some sources, so that grubby peasants wouldn't use magic. With that comforting image of elitism and classism, the college proceeded to be a foundational place of magic for centuries, even as the newer Order of the Mages Guild rose to prominence in the imperial heartland of Cyrodiil, and the Psijic Order was doing whatever Murr and Black level shenanigans they're always up to. There were various other groups across the history, like the College of Whispers or the Synod, but they were all more like research enclaves than actual places of higher learning. In general, you have the following schools: Destruction, for if you want to contribute to nothing except decreasing the population; Alteration if you want to pretend to be a full metal alchemist or use telekinesis and forget all about the defense spells; Conjuration if you want others to do the fighting for you; Illusion if you want to be in canon the most annoying gremlin possible and mess with people's emotions as well as perceptions; and Restoration if you only want to use the basic healing spell and nothing else. As a couple offshoots, you have Alchemy for smashing random nonsense together and carrying the excess results around so you could never use them, or Enchantment for breaking the game using exploits. Going beyond that, you get into more theoretical stuff that you, the player, can't really engage with, but suffice to say, magic in Nirn, while it tries to be neatly categorized, often is more chaotic. College of Winterhold was the center of magical learning in northern Tamriel, and in many cases outperformed the alternatives we mentioned before, especially after the Mages Guild disbanded in the days following the Oblivion Crisis. And once, the people of Skyrim would have been among the biggest supporters of the college's work. Back in the day, the Nords didn't shun magic the way they do now, as such clever tricks were considered just another way to please the gods and be a great warrior. And what better place to do that than in Winterhold, said to be built by Shalador with magic, and once the capital of Skyrim and a center for culture and trade. Yeah, we don't get to see Winterhold at its best in Skyrim. The Winterhold of the past was surely a sight to behold, a metropolis that would have rivaled or even surpassed Solitude or Windhelm. But then came the Great Collapse, a narrative excuse for not needing to use as many assets for a certain city. In somewhat seriousness, the Great Collapse was a sudden surge of oceanic storms that battered the city's cliff face in the Fourth Era in the year 122. Eventually, the constant storms wore away the ice or stone much of the city was supported on, and it collapsed into the ocean, leaving a bare outcrop on the rim and the College of Winterhold, which was totally unscathed on its own stone outcrop. The theories for why this happened range from aftershocks of a gargantuan volcanic eruption that happened in Morrowind over a century prior, to the mages at the college doing it, and honestly, as much of a mage enthusiast as I am, I wouldn't put it past them. The mages of the college have repeatedly shown themselves to be negligent at best and actually unstable at worst. The only halfway competent ones are either old as sin or die in the process of the faction questline. The others range from a self-absorbed librarian that will send hellspawn after you for messing with his books, to a straight-up criminal and source for the Thieves Guild, to a guy trying to duplicate the thing which made the dwarves get sent to the back rooms. Then there's the leader, Archmage Savos Eren, who is easily the least qualified person to hold the job. Yes, even you, who is made the Archmage after a collective week of experience and a recommendation from the High Elf Jedi, are more qualified to lead than Savos Aaron. Why? Well, we could start with how he was a coward that left two of his friends trapped in the ancient metropolis of Labyrinthian to serve as eternal thralls and jailers to the archaic mage and dragon priest Marokai after he insisted they keep going. He may not have started the expedition, admittedly, but he did push it forward. We could talk about how he never actually does his own work and instead foists it upon his second-in-command Mirabelle, who works herself constantly while he pretends to do things. Or we can refer to how his entire leadership style can boil down to "it will work itself out." The dragons have returned? We'll get someone to investigate it. Eventually. The Synod are poking around trying to get information on some lost researchers of theirs? Don't bother looking into it, just send them on their way. Is the Civil War on your doorstep? Not a problem, it won't affect us, surely. Ancano is shoving his hands all up in a magical ball of cosmic power, which could undo reality? Not a problem at all. Go give him a stern talking to before getting instantly killed. Thanks for nothing, Savos. With the College of Winterhold around, is it any wonder the Nords hate magic? I'd hate magic too if the equivalent of a frat house with lightning fingers was hanging out in the corner of the map. The real question is, why on Nirn is a Thalmor agent hanging out in a Stormcloak city? That alone would be enough reason for every single person in Winterhold or even most of northern Skyrim to side-eye the college. That's not even the only example, by the way, as they regularly have contact with the College of Whispereds and the Synod, both of which are imperial organizations actively vying for the approval of the Emperor, and they're willing to contact an organization in the middle of rebellious territory, and can't be doing so very subtly if the Thalmor feel comfortable enough just sending Ancano out in the open. My only assumption is that the college functions as its own sovereign entity, in which case, no doubt the surrounding people won't like the idea of a collective of people that can draw demons from beyond that aren't beholden to anyone else, and why the kinds of nonsense that happens under their watch can. In the course of attending this school, we can see students experimenting with self-exploding fire cloaks, get turned into various animals, see a student get scammed by a teacher, learn of a dangerous cabal of mages that they just allowed to leave to be a menace, and discover a bunch of students who have vanished and died in horrific fashion with no one really caring at all that much. Is this what real college is like? I wouldn't know, I'm allergic to crippling debt. That's all to say nothing of the kinds of nonsense hidden just beneath the surface. Literally. I'm talking about the Midden, a storage/containment area beneath the college where you are sure to find something that can kill you in a horrible way, or something that is itself unspeakable. So allow me to speak about it. A little affront to reality called the Augur of Dunlane. See, once upon a time at the college there was a gifted Breton student whose name is apparently either kept secret for some reason, or no one remembers inexplicably. Well, through experimenting with the strange magics that permeate the college, which I assume are related to those odd pools that can light up, the student had their soul basically dissolve and reconstitute within the energy of the college, winding up shoving themselves far away in the Midden and now possessed of a seeming limitless scope of knowledge. And they just leave that there. You're not even supposed to talk about it because, again, Savos' whole plan for anything stressful is just not touch it and hope it goes away. Which of course comes back to bite them, because you know who doesn't just leave it there? Ancano, the antagonist of the faction quest line. He goes down there asking questions and winds up able to plug himself into the Matrix or whatever the Eye of Magnus actually is. Which leads me to another question. Does anyone else think that the way they handled that thing was absolutely absurd? I know Savos' whole shtick is to be as hands-off as possible, but it was just floating there in the middle of the school for how long? And as far as I can tell, all it took for Ancano to suddenly get super magic was to ask the magic 8-ball that nobody's watching and start causing a scene. No wonder the Sijiks stepped in when they did. There was no way the college was going to be able to handle that nonsense. They literally required the Dragonborn, actual living shard of the Dragon God of Time, as all with dragon souls are, to be the living deus ex machina that they are. Most factions have an issue of not being able to solve their own problems, but only the college would have blown up the planet without the Dragonborn around to hold their hands, cause ain't nobody else doing it. What, is Onmund supposed to figure this out? How about Jazargo? Is Discount Dumbledore gonna solve the mystery of the world-ending magic gobstopper? At least the other factions have people that are competent. At least the other factions have people that are doing their jobs and not just committing crime on the side like Enther, or having petty rivalries like Nyria and Feralda. Or hey, how about the dangers to society they keep letting out into the world? The Caller and her bunch of freaks split off to do unethical experiments, and the college just threw up their hands and said, "Oh, what are we gonna do?" At least until some dweeb stole their books, and then it was a problem. And they didn't even care if you killed them all, they just wanted the books back. They'll ask 0 questions if you leave the caller alive to keep doing what she's doing. Nellikar and his crazy teacher were actively doing all they could to make Azura, one of the few chill gods in the Elder Scrolls, angry by messing with her artifact, and all they did was slap them on the wrist and send them to be Winterhold's problem. Or, more accurately, our problem. Another thing they made our problem is a little guy named Calixto Corium. Gee, I wonder what he gets up to later in life. What's that? He becomes a serial killer trying to carve up women to remake his dead sister in hopes of completing a horrendous necromantic ritual for dubious and morally agonizing reasons? Thanks, Savos! Oh, and don't even get me started on the Ratman Hamlin. That should never have been allowed. Look, if Phalion, the singular, cool, probably, necromancer in all of Skyrim decided that the college was cringe and he was free to leave, it should tell you the success rate of people who actually wind up going to this Talos Forsaken school. Of course, that seems to make sense considering their entrance exam is just being able to cast a spell. Congratulations, you can cause spontaneous combustion. Here's access to various tomes and possible avenues for learning the secrets of the universe. Try not to die because we won't be helping. All this is starting to and has been a problem for the college as their membership dwindles. Trust in their institution has waned, and what influence they had disappears just as much as Winterhold slowly does. The city itself is on a one-way track to abandonment, and if it goes, then it would be just the college deep in the northern edge of Skyrim. Arguably, if people just finally abandon the place, you could say that that'd give space for the college to expand. Maybe even make the old buildings into extensions of the campus so people don't have to worry about a bad storm knocking over the entire college one day like it did the city. But even if that were true, there's little to no reason for anyone to interact with a college without Winterhold or vice versa. Winterhold's lessened state means that the college is its major landmark. But the Nord's general distrust of magic means that if it were anywhere else, they'd leave it to fend for themselves. True conundrum for both sides as the animosity continues to mount in the background. At the center of that spite is Jarl Korur, who was raised among the first generations following the Great Collapse, and wholly believes the college to be responsible, and if not responsible, then at least negligent or unwilling to prevent it. While Korur also has a mess of other problems, like a lack of legitimacy and the fact that most people forget he even exists, he's still got the final say with how the city of Winterhold and the college coexist, and that's not changing anytime soon. The Imperial replacement for Korur is not much better, since he frankly enables the college to do whatever it wants and just trusts they'll not blow anything up while they do it. So tough luck for the 10 people who still live in Winterhold. That said, I can see a future where things could turn for the better, under the right leadership. The college could start taking a more proactive approach towards its neighbors, using what it knows to help the city and foster trust again. Restoration obviously provides an indispensable medical advantage. Alteration can transmute one metal to another, which is just asking for someone to screw with the economy, but in Winterhold's case it might actually need it. Furthermore, Conjuration would supplement a lacking guard force, which in turn could empower the guards to focus on something like building some basic fortifications, or maybe a harbor nearby to help with trade. It doesn't even need to be based off Stormcloak or Imperial, they'd just be helping the city itself regroup, finally. On the other hand, the town could act to help bring people to the college, bolstering the population of both and revitalizing its local growth. Obviously, the college could also put in some kind of military aid towards one side, but I don't know if that'd be for the best anyway, since no matter who wins, there would be grudges remaining over the college picking a side like that. So, I think it'd be better for the college to be active in the well-being of Winterhold, but not actively pick a side in the Civil War. Heck, if they had more respect, they could have served as a neutral ground for negotiations between the Imperials and Stormcloaks, though that may be a bit of a stretch, especially considering the modern Nord's opinion of magic. But maybe, just maybe, the old ways could come back. Nah, not even the Imperial Legion Nords respect magic. Oh well, at least they didn't blow up the planet. Seems like as much of a win as they'll ever get. See you around, losers. Maybe come back when you don't have a 70% turnover/death rate and your best mages can still die to a wisp. But that will be about it for me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I thank you for your time. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing as per the usual YouTuber line. A big shout out to my patrons whose dedication, unlike the College of Winterhold, does not laden me with debt both monetarily and spiritually. If you too would like to support me financially, consider becoming a patron or YouTube member, which gives you access to videos, hours, or even days early, a private Discord server where you can interact with me directly and have a cozy corner of the internet to hang out. And you just be helping out the channel a ton while empowering me to keep doing what I love. If that sounds good, definitely consider doing so. But without any further ado, I am the Hearth Guy, and I will see you all next time around the hearth. So, I don't say this lightly, but I would not want to hang with the Thieves Guild, the Dark Brotherhood, or especially the College of Winterhold. They'd either cause moral problems or give me conniptions. And I don't need that stress. But there is one band of brothers and sisters in arms who I'd be more than happy to stand beside as we remind everyone who really runs these streets. I'll give you a hint. There's at least one wolf inside them, maybe even two. But if we can help it, we'll lower it down to 0.